Now, I know that you're going to say he's got to step down. First of all, though, can I ask you what you would be doing to try to protect his reputation if you were representing him today?
Well, I think he's trashed his own reputation over many, many years. And I think what we're seeing today is the inevitable consequence of having elected somebody like Boris Johnson as Prime Minister in the first place. It's not as if the country didn't have lots of warnings about the sort of person he was, the sort of person he is, and the way that he conducts himself in public and private life. And I don't know what I would say to him, to be absolutely frank, because one, I wouldn't be there. But secondly, I think that I have the sense that there's now a culture in there that basically says Johnson thinks he can do what the hell he wants, and that has now spread to other people as well. So I honestly don't know, Kate. You're asking. I know you've got to fill the time because you've got no Tory ministers on, and I can't pretend that I'm going to stand in for them. But I honestly don't know what I would say to him, other than, as you said earlier, it is better to stand there at the dispatch box and tell the truth. But the problem, if he stands up and tells the truth, is that, which would be, a pretty rare thing of itself. But the problem with that is that then he's probably and almost certainly going to have to admit that he broke the laws that he brought in and that he told the entire country we had to live by, and the vast majority of people did, at in so many cases, an enormous sacrifice. And that is why this has become such a toxic, sulphurous issue for him.
Yeah, I'm trying to be even-handed, though, Alastair, and I know, and my viewers know, that you are very good at advice. You did it incredibly well for a long time while you were at number 10. Give it a go. What would you say to him to try to get him off the hook?
As you said it, fess up, be honest. And if it comes, now that is difficult, because the truth is, as I say, we're talking now about breaches of the law. We're just talking about messing about and some of the stuff that politicians sometimes get up to. We're talking about a breach of the law at an incredibly difficult point. But I think that it's always best in these circumstances, because the other thing that's happening now is because within I still know a lot of people inside the civil service. I know people who are leaving at the moment because they can't stand what's going on. But what happens when you have somebody at the top who is basically saying, I can do what I want, I will blame other people, I will throw other people under the bus? That's when people in your profession then get all the calls and the leaks and all the rest of it. That is going to continue and continue and continue until this guy actually stands up and starts operating by basic public standards that most of the public expect him to, one of which is you level with people. So stop lying, stop blustering, stop pretending that you haven't done anything wrong, and instead admit it, accept anything that comes your way with that, apologise to the country, and then try to operate in a different way. But I don't think he's capable of doing it. I really don't.
We did a YouGov poll on Sky yesterday, a snap poll, to find out what people thought, and this is what it looks like. 27% of people, so almost a quarter, or more than a quarter of those that we asked, still felt that he should remain as Prime Minister, even if he did break the rules.
Well, it doesn't actually say that. It just says, do you think Boris Johnson should resign from his role as Prime Minister? Whether that number would change if it was proven that he had broken lockdown rules, I don't know. But listen, that is not a good position to be in. You're talking
That's why you're so good at what you do, Alastair, because you immediately extrapolated something different from what I was just illustrating.
No, but I think for any Prime Minister to have a situation where fewer than a third of people think you should still be doing the job. You've got to remember, Kate, most of the time, most people just kind of get on with their lives, and politics is something happening over there. And you give them a poll. I'm not a great fan of instant polls. I'll be absolutely honest about that, because they just tend to reflect a passing mood. But the fact is, as a country, we've just got to decide whether we think that the situation that we've had over the last couple of years is tolerable and tenable. And the other thing I think that's really important to draw out of this isn't just about Boris Johnson. These Conservatives have now been in power for over a decade. And if it's true, by the way, And it's interesting you can't get a minister to come on this morning. But if it's true that yesterday at the cabinet meeting, this is something your colleagues have been saying, that this wasn't even raised by a single member of the cabinet, then they really are an utterly spineless, craven bunch. This is something that is affecting the good governance of the country. And that is something for the entire cabinet to address.
What do you think about what's been happening as far as the Met is concerned? We know, of course, that while Tony Blair was Prime Minister, he was questioned under caution about something different, but nevertheless, they came forward and wanted to talk to the then Prime Minister. Should they be talking to this one?
Well, it's a very interesting comparison. And I do think, whether it's the way that the media have covered this, whether it's the way that the political system and Parliament have covered this, if you go back to that case that you mentioned relating to Tony Blair, that was an investigation mounted on the basis of a single claim by a single SNP MP. And on that basis, the police got involved. And as you say, they got sending Yates of the Yard trampling all over Downing Street and all the rest of it. We have a situation in relation to the breaches of lockdown regulations or laws where there is plenty of evidence that you'd have thought was worth investigating. And at every step of this way, the Met's line has been, we don't have evidence. We don't have evidence to investigate. Well, your job is meant to be to find evidence when you think that there may be been breaches of the law. Now, we heard yesterday the Metropolitan Police are in contact with the Cabinet Office. I don't know what that means. But at the time, let me tell you, there were two things going on at the time this party was happening. One is the police were arresting and cautioning people who were gathering in groups of more than two outside, in several hundred, I think it was at the time. And the second thing to say is that the day after this party, Boris Johnson was out clapping on the steps of Number 10. I mean, the hypocrisy is what gets me in this as well. And yes, I do think the police have got to. You cannot have a situation where people think that the police is just an arm of government. And you've had the sense with the Met that they've been bending over backwards to try not to get involved in this. If a crime has been committed in the garden of Downing Street or anywhere else in Downing Street, and bear in mind, this is a place that's probably got more CCTV over it than any other building in the country. So don't tell me the police don't know what's been going on.
OK, it's good to talk to you. Thanks. I'm trying not to take it personally every time you have a pop at the media on Twitter, by the way. It's good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Bye-bye.